Live from FedEx Forum, this is The Odds Couple, presented by Caesars Sportsbook on GrindCityMedia.com and the Grind City Media YouTube page. Here's Rob Fisher and Lang Whitaker.
Hello, good people, and I'm not Rob Fisher, I'm Lang Whitaker, and you're watching The Odds Couple, presented by Caesars Sportsbooks. Right now is normally when we yell single on Fish. Right now it's single on Lang.
Single on Lang!
Single on Lang! There we go. I'm here in the beautiful Grind City Media studio. I'm here with John Roser.
Yeah, I'm right over here. I'm right over here. Odds Couple Gang. Been a long time. What's up? We're back.
We're back for now. CJ's not here.
Yeah, CJ's not here.
I don't know where CJ is.
He's down at SWAC Media Day.
SWAC Media Day.
That's right.
I think he's en route actually today.
Yeah.
But coming to us live from Hot Atlanta,
yes,
the ATL shawty is one of my favorite ATL shawties, Rob Fisher. You're at the College Football Hall of Fame?
I am at the College Football Hall of Fame doing the show here today. As you can see, the sunshine behind me, kind of Feinbaum's down there doing his show, but everybody's starting to clear out as Media Days comes to a close today after a long week of talking NILs and realignment expansion. It seemed like today was the first day that actually some football was talked about, so that was good.
Well, I mean, we haven't talked football in a long time on this show, and that's normally our bread and butter. So this feels like a good time for us to bring it up because you're at SEC Media Day. And look, the last couple weeks have just been sort of crazy in college football. There's been all this talk about expansion and conferences changing and all this stuff left and right. I mean, how do I know we normally start off talking about what we learned this week. I'm trying to wrap my head around what are conferences now. What are we? Is college football?
We're headed for two big conferences.
We have two big ones already.
We're headed for two bigger conferences. It's going to be the Big Ten and it's going to be the SEC. And
I'm with you, Roser. I think when you look at Pac-12 programs right now, I think they were blindsided by USC and UCLA leaving.
Yeah.
And so now it's about trying to figure out what is in our best interest. And is it individual schools still trying to maybe go to the SEC or Big Ten and everybody's for themselves? Or do you collectively as a conference try to, get together with what's left and maybe try and pick and choose who you want? I mean, with the exodus of the Big 12, if I'm the Pac-12, I'm maybe picking a couple of schools from the Big 12, but I don't even know who really excites me. But I'd be more on the phone with the ACC because they have more attractive programs than the Big 12 does.
Should we just throw geography out the window?
I don't.
Yeah.
The Big Ten threw geography completely out the window. Like Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC, that's still geography. It's not.
They're Southern,
right? They're Southern, and so that doesn't that makes sense. But the Big Ten going and getting USC and UCLA just. To me, it doesn't matter what the Pac-12 does, what the ACC does, what the Big 12 does. It does not matter. The SEC and the Big Ten run things.
Yeah.
And if they're going to call on a school to come and join, those schools are going to go join.
I just don't feel like
in a heartbeat they would come join. I mean,
the only one that's curious is Notre Dame, and we'll get to them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just feel like I still feel like the SEC runs things because the Big Ten, they were one of the bigger conferences, but they were still a notch below the SEC. And then the SEC goes and adds Texas and Oklahoma, and the Big Ten adds USC and UCLA.
Yeah, it's not so much about like the strength of your, whatever your football programs. It's about there are two conferences that clearly have a bigger financial television contracts and that these television networks care the most about, and it's the SEC and the Big Ten. Like that's
well,
and once these TV contracts are redone, I mean, what's the Big 12 going to get?
Yeah, right.
I mean,
it doesn't.
Why would you give them more than what you give the American Athletic Conference at this point? I mean, once the money is going to be a huge disparity between like the Big 12 and the Big 10 or the SEC. Once that money disparity gets bigger and bigger and bigger, those programs become even more irrelevant.
Yeah.
And right now they're pretty irrelevant.
Yeah.
The interesting thing to me is to see if, because the SEC clearly, they have cared about geography.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, the Big Ten said we don't. We're going to go to get 2 teams from Los Angeles. Does the SEC, would they worry? Like, does the SEC need a Florida State or a Miami or a Clemson in their conference? No, they don't.
No.
They've got Florida. They got South Carolina.
Yeah.
North Carolina, yes, they would want North Carolina. They have no SEC schools in North Carolina. North Carolina is a big one. But would the SEC decide, okay, yeah, the SEC say we're going to take Florida State, we're going to take Clemson, because we don't want the Big Ten to come and try to grab those schools.
Well, wouldn't the real gangster move be if the SEC got Notre Dame?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
if the SEC's like, all right, we're gonna take, if you guys want to have a national footprint, we will too, and we're gonna get the biggest school
And that's
that's
the
out
interesting
there.
thing, because Notre Dame has played. They're not in a conference, but they play ACC teams.
Hey, Georgia played at Notre Dame.
Yeah, and
Couple years- I
Georgia
went to
has
the
played
game.
at Notre
Yeah.
Dame. But Notre Dame does play several ACC schools a
Yeah.
year.
Well, they were in the ACC during the COVID year.
Yes, they did join during the COVID year, so they clearly have a relationship.
There's a
with
loose
the ACC.
affiliation.
Yeah, right. So,
That's the big one. I mean, those other ones that you mentioned, Miami, Florida State, schools like that, Clemson. Does the SEC want them? If they want them, they can go get them.
Could Notre Dame joining the ACC save the ACC
No.
from getting picked off by the SEC? The SEC will get North Carolina. North Carolina will be in the SEC eventually.
I don't know. I mean, that's the one school where, to me, like, football doesn't really matter.
No, it's more about that's the state school,
Yeah.
and they have the biggest fan base in that state. It's the same thing with Virginia. Why the SEC would take Virginia? It's like you don't.
I mean, for all the outcry about UCLA joining the Big Ten, and I saw today the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, was
He's
like
upset.
criticizing it because what about the rivalry between Cal Berkeley and UCLA?
because
he
he's
said.
on the Berkeley board
Sure.
of regents. Yeah.
I mean, if there was ever a outcry about breaking up a rivalry, like if the SEC took North Carolina and you break up Duke, UNC,
That's where I'm interested in
Like-
this. Is like, yeah, breaking up Duke, North
That-
Carolina, because it's always seemed like they are tied
Yeah.
together. And for a long time, it felt like all those North Carolina schools, Carolina, Duke, NC
Wake.
State, Wake Forest,
Yeah.
were all kind of tied together. And I think, as you've seen with the Texas and Oklahoma thing, and now the USC, UCLA, North Carolina, if you're North Carolina, you have to be thinking, okay,
Yeah.
we can't just keep ourselves tied to these schools.
Rob got us some audio to on this subject. Here's Greg Sankey, the boss of the SEC, talking about whether Oklahoma and Texas could join earlier than is expected at this point.
That's about the relationship between Oklahoma, Texas, and the Big 12. We are focused on the addition being effective July 1st, 2025. We're in contiguous states. It's a southeast quadrant. I do have a few letters about what southeast mean, but we are in the southeast quadrant of the United States. Those two additions actually restore rivalries. The Texas-Arkansas game last year was pretty special, but that goes back a long way. Obviously, Texas and Texas A&M rivalry will be like our in-state rivalries across the league. You have Missouri and Oklahoma that are a quarter of the Big Eight that are now part of the Southeastern Conference, and the opportunity for Arkansas and Oklahoma to play regularly. I think that's right. That's who we are. Those fan bases get it. One of the very first calls I had, it's like, hey, we watch how you've made decisions in the Southeastern Conference and how you want to achieve as universities and athletically, and we want to be a part of that. Absolutely, that's right.
So he's basically saying, like, it's not up to us.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if we have to wait till 2025 for these schools to go.
I
I bet
think
they're there
it'll
next
happen
season.
year.
I bet they're there next
Why-
year.
But why? Like, if I'm the Big 12, I'm like, no way I'm letting you guys out of this thing early. Like,
I think you would think that, but I think the Big 12 now, with the additions that they're going to make, and their additions take place next season, while the other two schools would be lame duck, let's just get a buyout from them and get them out of here, because then you don't have to worry about scheduling issues for the next couple of years. You can at least start trying to plan for your future, and try to figure out what you're going to do with the losses of Oklahoma and Texas. I just think it'd be best for them to move on. And it seems like that's kind of the trend that we're going in, that the Big 12 wants to move on. So if those schools are willing to pay their buyouts, I'd be surprised if they're not here by next year, because I think everybody wants to move on and just, get this over with so we can move on from there and figure out, which schools are going to be moving at that point. But to wait till 2025, I don't think it benefits Texas or Oklahoma. I don't think it benefits the Big 12 and the SEC. It's fine. They can just sit and wait. But I'm with you, Roser. I think next year here at Media Days, we're going to have Oklahoma and Texas represented.
I did like where Greg Sankey talked about this restores some traditional rivalries, like the famous Missouri-Oklahoma rivalry.
That's right, from Big Eight days. That's right.
Missouri-Oklahoma. I also will say, and I think this stinks, because, Fish, I think where you are, that's going to be the permanent home of SEC Media Days, because it's just getting too big. The conference is getting too big, and that Winfrey can't hold. As you add Texas and Oklahoma, you're going to be talking about bringing their media in, and then you add, say you add a North Carolina or a Clemson or a Florida State or a Virginia. Like, you're talking about that media. It's just going to get too big for the Winfrey, and so.
Well, I'm with you. I think that's possible. It hasn't been announced officially yet, but it's believed and pretty sure that it's going to be in Nashville next year.
That's not bad. Nashville's interesting.
And then after that, who knows? I guess the plan originally was to go back to the Winfrey, but I'm with you. I think it's just gotten too big for that. And, they may start moving it around. Maybe you go to St. Louis one year. Yeah. Maybe you go to, Oklahoma City 1 year.
Yeah.
Or you just kind of move around. And I think that's probably what's going to happen going forward. Atlanta could always host it.
You go down to Big 12 country and go to Dallas.
Yeah.
You do it in Dallas. The best would be New Orleans.
Yeah, but Nashville makes a lot of sense because you can celebrate, SEC powerhouse Vanderbilt.
Absolutely. And while at Kid Rock's bar.
Well, you talked about one of the mentions of the Sankey gave was the Arkansas Texas rivalry that we're going to restore. Yeah. We have audio here from Sam Pittman, Arkansas coach, with his message to Texas and Oklahoma.
We love you, Texas and Oklahoma. Can't wait for you to come over. We got a great place. I don't know what to tell them. I mean, OU, as a kid, rooted for the Sooners when I was a young kid till I moved over to eastern Oklahoma, where I became a Razorback fan. Storied football program. We're having recruiting battles with them right now. Thank the Lord. And because before we couldn't get in the door, but we're having recruiting battles. We are having recruiting battles with Texas. I'm not telling you we're whipping them or anything like that. I'm telling you we're in the conversation. So it's so close, and you have two storied programs there, but I would tell them that what they already know. It's a hell of a league, and it's about big people and fast people. It's not any different probably than the Big 12, but consistently each week you better have some depth.
Not any different than the Big 12, except here the people are bigger and faster.
Yeah.
Right?
And the second stringers are bigger and faster. Yeah. That's the biggest deal. That depth that he talked about at the end. Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about what this means to college football and the conferences, all that. Like, do you think do Texas and Oklahoma come in right away? Are they good? Or are they going to have to adjust?
Well, see, this is the other reason why it needs to happen. Arch Manning needs to be in the SEC right away.
He could have been.
He could have been. Arch Manning needs to be in the SEC right away. We've got to get Arch Manning.
I mean, he chose Texas. He didn't want to sit in the quarterback room at Georgia and be the fifth string guy and wait his turn.
He was going where Sarkisian was.
Yeah, I guess.
That was always the thing. Yeah, he would have. If Sarkisian was still at Bama, he would have been at Bama.
I think, Lang, for your question, I mean, Oklahoma, they've been really good. So I think they would come in and would be really good. Texas just hasn't been that great.
Yeah.
They haven't been that good. So I don't expect them to come in and be great off the bat. And Oklahoma, with the changes now, with Lincoln Riley gone and the changes they've made, how good are they going to be and when they get to the SEC? So that one I think is still to be determined. But Texas, They got a long way to go. It'll be interesting too, because then it'll come down to scheduling. Are you going to go with just one division model? That seems to be the case that Greg Sankey was talking about the other day. Or are we splitting it up into 2? Are we splitting it up into 4? I guess in the next 2 years before Oklahoma and Texas come, we have to wait and see if there are going to be more teams that are going to be added by then.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how all this is going to shake out. And 2025 is the target date. I'm with you guys. I think it probably happens before that. But it gives us something to talk about in the meantime, and it gives us something to do at SEC Media Day, where Fish has been listening to all the coaches talk. So we're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and we're going to go into the SEC West, get a look ahead at this season, and see if Nick Saban's going to be able to get Alabama back to that top tier. We'll be back in a second.
Yeah.
It's a Grizzlies game day.
It's a big day. Grizzlies game day, Grizzlies at Nuggets, opening day in Major League Baseball, Masters Day 1. Did we ever think we were going to see Tiger Woods on a golf course again?
You didn't even mention the real sport coming back today. It's kickball season again. Let's go!
I see the joy in his eyes for kickball season to begin.
Rise and Grind with Jessica and Megan. Live daily at 8 a.m. on grindcitymedia.com.
Don't miss the newest Grind City Media podcast, Infield Fly, with me, Rob Fisher, along with Lang Whitaker and Keith Murphy. Comes out each Tuesday, and we'll have the latest on our favorite teams and yours. Regional and Superstation teams, the Cardinals, Braves, and Cubs. While going around the horn to check in on the rest of the league. Be sure to subscribe today at grindcitymedia.com, iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud.
Memphis fans can now enhance each moment of their day with the refreshingly luxurious taste of Cintron sparkling flavored energy beverages, served exclusively at FedEx Forum. Cintron World is a lifestyle beverage brand inspiring everyone to create their lives with intention, energy, and style. As the official partner of the Grizzlies, Cintron is offering a 10% discount on your next online order when you use promo code Grizzlies10 at CintronWorld.com. And follow the lifestyle on social at Cintron World. Drink it, live it.
South Carolina took down UConn. We had to get up for Destiny Henderson. She was amazing for this group.
It was her destiny.
Yeah.
And shout out to women's basketball, too, for having the 4 10-minute quarters. Men's basketball, get it together.
Join me, Megan Triplett, and John Roser every Monday as we discuss our favorite 3 topics and give you our stances from stories from the weekend that was. It's 3 Point Stance weekly on grindcitymedia.com and on YouTube.
HBCU Huddle with me, CJ Hurt, and Mike Wallace has all of your HBCU football, sports, and culture needs covered. We discuss the hottest stories weekly across the black college sports landscape, including the SWAC, MEAC, Tennessee State, Lane, LeMoyne-Owen, and all the black colleges in between. New episodes drop every Thursday, and you can stay connected with the latest stories and discussions about your favorite HBCU by going to grindcitymedia.com, selecting the podcast folder, and clicking on the HBCU Huddle tab. HBCU Huddle is the spot for all your black college sports and culture needs.
Welcome back to grindcitymedia.com and the Grind City Media YouTube page. Live from FedEx Forum, here's more of the Odds Couple, Rob Fisher and Lang Whitaker, presented by Caesars Sportsbook.
Grizz Nation, download the all-access, all-in-one Grizzlies mobile app, now featuring mobile wallet for contactless payment in FedEx Forum. Get 3 experiences with one app, including a fresh Grizzlies look and feel, along with access to FedEx Forum events and Grind City Media news and notes on all things Grizzlies, NBA, and more. From podcasts to purchasing tickets, the new Grizzlies app has it all. Upgrade your experience and download the Grizzlies app today at the App Store and Google Play. Welcome back to the Odds Couple, presented by Caesars Sportsbook. I'm Lang Whitaker. He's John Roser. Rob Fisher's with us from Atlanta, where maybe 3-4 months ago, I guess it's longer than that, I was there for the SEC championship game when Georgia lost to Alabama. And everyone thought, oh, well, Alabama's still on top. And then they get to the playoffs and Georgia beats Alabama to win the title. And now Nick Saban finds himself in the very odd situation of being not on top in the SEC. Rob, being there in Atlanta, I'm sorry, I almost said Birmingham. I'm used to the SEC media days being in Birmingham. Yeah. Being there in Atlanta this week, was there a sense at all that the torch has passed, or is this still Nick Saban's world? We're all just living in it.
Well, I think Alabama's still obviously on top of the West for sure. But Georgia's so easily on top in the East as well that, there just wasn't a lot of excitement about, who you're going to pick this year. It's Georgia and Alabama. And all you're talking about is who's going to finish second in their respective divisions. So, the big question for me is Nick Saban's been able to do it year after year, reload with his team. We could talk about all the players they lose to the NFL, the coaches that go elsewhere, and all the turnover, yet here they are reloading year in and year out. I mean, yeah, maybe their offensive line only has 3 starters back and they're missing their guys on the edge, but they got guys that are waiting in the wings, wide receivers. I mean, just different guys step up, and they got the kid from Georgia, Jermaine Burton, who came in after making the big play against Bama last year. He now joins the Tide, so they'll have guys that'll just step up and reload. The question for me is Georgia there? Kirby talked about it yesterday, sustaining success and sustaining, not getting complacent over what they were able to do last year. But, Alabama's proven it, that they can reload every year. Georgia, I guess we wait and see. Is that the case? Can Georgia reload like Alabama does every year? The recruiting rankings would tell you they can. So we wait and see if Georgia's that type of program. And I believe they are. I think they should be right there at the top again this year. But it's still Alabama's world that Kirby and the Dogs are living in.
Well, I mean, we're going to dig into the SEC East in a second. As we go through the SEC West, let's start with Nick Saban himself. Let's hear from a second-tier SEC coach.
This is great here, Lang. Real detailed of what Nick Saban thinks.
Let's hear his outlook for his team.
We've had a really good offseason with our team. We had a good summer with our players. I think our team has made improvements and progress in, a lot of areas, whether it's physical development, attitude development, and trying to develop a mindset that will allow us to have good team chemistry, in the future. But, as we always do, it's kind of like, here we go again in making predictions about how young people, adolescents will perform in the future. So that's why we play the games. That's why we have a season, so that we can sort of see how we grow and develop and, how the team develops, all the things you need to develop on a team, the togetherness, the positive energy and attitude, the people being responsible for their own self-determination, the work, preparation, ability to overcome adversity, pride in performance that, make the team, allows the team to be able to play with the consistency you need to be successful for an entire season, especially in the SEC, which is a very challenging league.
It almost sounded like he was talking about Roser when he was talking about, ability to lock in, your self-determination.
Yeah.
Right.
To me,
that's how I am. That's how I am.
Look, Alabama's got a lot of guys coming back. I know they always lose 100 guys to the NFL, but, Bryce Young is back. To me, the question mark's those wide receivers. They lost all those guys that they had last year who were so good. And I assume.
And we saw what a difference it made in the championship
for sure. But look, like you said, they get Jermaine Burton from Georgia. They got the kid from Georgia Tech, Gibbs. They actually use the transfer pool, to me, way more than they have in years past to kind of, fill those positions. The one guy that they have back is Will Anderson, of course, the linebacker.
Yeah.
This stat was incredible. I was looking just at his numbers today. 17 and a half sacks last year, and second in the country in stopping the run out of every player in the country. Yeah. The other numbers are amazing too. Here was one. He dropped into coverage 58 times and allowed 16 passing yards when the quarterback threw at his guy.
Yeah, he for real. It's tough for obviously a defensive player to win the Heisman, but he may, if you get a little bit, he might be worth throwing down on. But he for real, even if he probably doesn't.
I think Bryce Young might too.
Right.
Yeah.
So even if he probably doesn't win the Heisman, because it's very tough for a defensive player too. He for real might be the best overall player in college football.
Yeah,
when you talk about who plays their position the best out of anybody, he might be the one.
Is there any chance
they're over on?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say they're over under. It depends where you look, but it's either 10.5 or 11.5. If it's 10.5, I take the over for Alabama. I give them that margin of error of losing a game. But if it's 11.5, not having that margin of error just makes it so hard to try and do that. But when you look at their schedule, probably the hardest game on their schedule is at Tennessee. They've won 15 straight against Tennessee. Nick Saban hasn't lost to Tennessee since being the Alabama head coach. I mean, I don't know how I can sit here and tell you Tennessee's going to win that game until it happens.
If that's the hardest game on your schedule, well, I mean, I would almost take the over no matter what the number is.
The Auburn game is always.
Yeah, weird things. I mean, there's usually like one game a year where weird things happen with Alabama involved, like where somebody.
LSU.
Maybe it's at LSU.
Yeah,
and that's on the road.
Yeah.
And Ole Miss is on the road this year. Arkansas is on the road.
Well, they got some spots, that can,
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, do we think? Is there any? Do any of us think there's no way Alabama doesn't win the West?
Bryce Young got injured.
Yeah,
that might do it. I mean,
I don't even know who the backup is, but I don't either. I think they'll be fine. No matter
I bet he's good.
Yeah.
But I mean, once upon a time, they always had like there was Jalen Hurts, and then there was Tua, and then there was Mac Jones, and then there was Bryce Young. So I mean, whoever it is probably really good.
Yeah. And how do they get Vanderbilt on a crossover game this year?
My gosh, they're going to win that game 75-3.
It's going to make people buy Vanderbilt season tickets so they can get the ticket at Alabama.
Exactly.
When that happens. I mean, another team that you mentioned in passing there, Rob, that has done a lot in the transfer portal is Ole Miss. And Lane Kiffin this week there in Atlanta talked about the challenges of this season.
Our job is, I think, really challenging this year because on paper we may look, like we should be decent because we filled a lot of holes with transfer portals. So that is a good system when you lose really good players and you haven't been somewhere long enough to develop a lot of classes of depth. So we are grateful for that, but at the same time, with everything good, there are challenges as well. And you have people coming from, like I've said, kids coming from different parenting, and we got to put them all together as this blended family. So that is challenging, and in the fall camp, it won't just be about teaching X's and O's. Like it always is, we have a lot of culture work to do that you don't really have to do as much because it's already established because your best players normally have been in your program for a year or two. So look forward to that challenge.
Culture work.
Yeah.
Portal work. Man did portal work.
Give him some red solo cups. Like what is culture work in Oxford?
Yeah, I like what they did. I like what he did. He filled his holes with transfer portal people. Yeah. And, which I think a lot of their needs or weaknesses have been filled with these type of players. And, their biggest question is the quarterback position. You got an unknown kid that comes over from USC, Jackson Dart, likely to be the guy. He adds a little bit of a running element similar to Matt Corral as well. The other one is sophomore Luke Altmaier, I guess, who's in the running for the job as well. So that's their biggest question mark, but they got good running backs. They got good wide receivers, guys that they picked up in the transfer portal. Yeah. They have a great offensive line because it's intact from last year. Their weakness is quarterback, weakness is linebacker, but other than that, I think they're in good shape. And you look at their two crossover games, they got Vanderbilt and Kentucky, with the Kentucky game being at home, which I think gives them an advantage too. Their win total is 7.5. I like Ole Miss over that 7.5. I think this could be a 9-win team. Best case scenario, maybe a 10-win team, but worst case scenario, maybe about 7. But I think they'll go over 7.5.
I feel like 8 to me is the number there. Yeah. I just don't know if the defense, like you said, they lost, Bumper Pool's gone. They lost some of those guys who've been there for a while, and it just feels like every year we see these Ole Miss, especially under Kiffin, these teams that have to just outscore whoever they're playing against. These games that end up 45-42, 38-37, whatever. I don't know if that's changed. We've seen Georgia and Alabama score points, but also put up these dominant defenses. And to me, Ole Miss isn't even sniffing that yet. And I don't know that they're going to be good enough to get to that next level.
Outscore everybody?
Yeah. Maybe they just outscore everybody, but I mean, I don't know that they're going to stop anybody enough to get those wins.
Well, then they need defensive players to hashtag come to the sip. That's what Lane Kiffin says. It's all the recruits come to the sip.
They like to have people come to the sip.
Yeah.
He had on shoes that had trains on it and said the Lane train, and his shoes, one shoe on the tongue it said the other shoe on the tongue it said sip.
The sip.
The sip.
Yeah.
He also didn't wear a tie. He was the only coach to not wear a tie.
Yeah, the sip. I don't know. I always liked Hugh Freeze calling Ole Miss the flagship.
Flagship.
He always called them the flag. That was part of it. The dig at Dan Mullen.
Yeah.
We're the flagship school for the state.
Yeah.
Even though I firmly believe there are more Mississippi State fans in that state than Ole Miss fans.
Why do you think that?
I think the further you get, because I think Ole Miss is so far north.
Yeah.
I think once you get past DeSoto County, I think it's more and more Mississippi State, especially if you get down there in Jackson. Jackson's the biggest city.
There's a lot of like Auburn and Alabama fans down there.
Yeah, there are
too.
also a lot of Auburn and Alabama, but I think Mississippi State rules down there from those schools. Yeah,
could be. One other team that people are talking a lot about in the West, LSU, and Brian Kelly showed up. He lost his accent for the most part.
That's right.
But he talked about I was actually looking at the wrong quote. That was Brian Kelly talking about Notre Dame. Sam Pittman. Look, out of all these teams in the West, the one team I picked them last year to be like my surprise team, and I rode them hard, was Arkansas. I'm on them again this year.
Hogs.
I love the Hogs. And I
Go
mean,
Hogs.
KJ Jefferson's back.
Yeah.
I know they lost some wide receivers, but like they have a lot of guys coming back on that team, and they have a stud quarterback coming back, and Pittman's back. Like, I am really big on Arkansas. Let's ask Sam Pittman. Has Arkansas arrived?
Arkansas is just trying to compete. We're trying to get better. We're trying to, we're trying to fight hard. We're trying to work hard. We're the underdog. We like it that way. No. We're way from that. Now, we will compete. We'll do that. Roll it out there and let's play ball. But no. We're not that.
It was almost like he was arguing with himself.
The quote, the best quote was when he was asked, or when he wasn't even asked. He was told, he was thanked that Arkansas has gone 16-6 against the spread in their last 22 games under Sam Pittman. And Sam Pittman said, what was that record again? 16-6 against the spread in your last 22. And all Sam Pittman said was, "Go Hogs."
Go Hogs.
Go Hogs.
Well, I mean, they have a lot of new guys too.
You can be as high as you want on them, Lang. The problem is this schedule is brutal.
It is brutal.
That's fine.
Jeff Long, on his way out of Arkansas, just decided to try and get his football coach fired, I guess. And Pittman even made reference of that. He said, looking at the schedule, it looks like they're trying to fire the football coach. They got Cincinnati out of conference. Their non-conference slate is Cincinnati, Missouri State, which is an interesting game because that's where Bobby Petrino is the head coach. He'll be going back to Fayetteville, so that's fun.
On a motorcycle.
That's right. And then they go to BYU. That's not an easy one. And then they also have Liberty. Hugh Freeze coming back to Fayetteville. So that is a huge non-conference schedule. Then you throw in the SEC West that they're going to have to play. Now the good news is they do have Alabama at home. They do have Ole Miss at home. Problem is, one of their home games this year is played in Arlington in that Texas A&M game. So they lose a home game this year in the SEC West. So their schedule is just so tough. And their over-under is 7.5. I'm sorry. I think they could have a really good season, and then it goes under.
I think 7 is the number for them.
Yeah. That's just a tough schedule, you know? Like, does Arkansas have more talent than Liberty, than BYU, than Cincinnati? Yes, but that is still
look. They start out with Cincinnati, who lost everybody. They play South Carolina.
Now, they may crush Cincinnati. If Cincinnati did lose everybody.
They play Missouri State, Texas A&M. Those are their first 4 games. Then you get Alabama, Mississippi State, BYU, Auburn. Who knows what they're going to be? Like, I mean, maybe they can get to 8. I don't know.
They might. Can't. Auburn's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Auburn.
I mean, Harsin kept his job.
Yeah.
Arkansas seems to be the team that everybody likes to finish second. It'll be interesting when the media polls come out tomorrow because at least talking to people, I think everybody's talking themselves into Arkansas being the second best team because LSU's got a lot of questions. I still kind of like LSU, and I know, Roser, we talked about it on Christian's show. They're kind of sneaky. But let's remember, they are a team that reloads their talent and restocks their talent year in and year out, and they now have a real football coach.
Yes.
Do they?
Yes, they have a real football coach. They got a real coach. Brian Kelly's.
They won a title like 3 years ago.
Yeah,
like,
right. No, I know.
Under Ed, come on.
Yeah. That was a real football coach.
He was a clown show. But he had amazing freaking talent on that team. They had Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson all out there. Yeah, that's so real. Oh yeah, that's the thing. Like, the talent is there at LSU, and so Brian Kelly had some really good recruiting classes at Notre Dame, but there are still those restrictions there, and he can have what he can do with LSU is. I'm with you, Fish. I think LSU is going to finish second in the West.
LSU has 15 new players via the transfer portal.
Yeah, he did go and get a lot of guys.
Yeah.
He's got to change the culture. Can't always just be about being. It's about family. Family.
He says he got it back though, right? He said he said
at least
he lost the accent. He's back to like his normal way.
At least
he's got 3 dialects in one.
There's like the New England, the North, and then the South now.
You know what? I give him credit for goofing on himself about it, for knowing how ridiculous it was.
I mean, he's got to.
Yeah, like you have to goof on yourself.
There's no way
dude,
around
it sounds
that
so horrible.
No. I don't know. Well, let's go. That takes us through the SEC West. Is there anybody else we didn't talk about that you guys think stands out in the West? I mean, to me, we hit them on Mississippi State.
Well, that's the thing with Mississippi State. Like, they do have the quarterback.
The most honest man in the SEC, Will Rogers.
Like, the Rogers kid is good, So as where Ole Miss has questions at quarterback, who's Texas A&M's quarterback? Didn't he leave Calzada?
Yeah, he went to Auburn. They got a transfer from it's Max Johnson, LSU guy.
They got a 3-man race.
Okay, so they have 3 quarterbacks, so they have no quarterback. So Texas A&M, we don't know.
The guy who got hurt before Calzada.
LSU's is who?
The kid from Arizona State.
All right. So again, and Auburn is Calzada.
Calzada's at Auburn.
So I at least will give them, and we know. So we know Alabama has Bryce Young. We know Arkansas has KJ Jefferson. At least Mississippi State has that going for them compared to Arkansas, Auburn, Mississippi State are the only 3 schools where it's like, okay, we know what we got at quarterback. Whereas the rest of them, it's like, you don't know
Mississippi State was
yet.
just so wild, like up and down last year.
No.
You never knew which game, what you were going to see. You know who they have it in Starkville this year?
Yeah, they have Memphis to open.
And they get the Bulldogs.
You going down there?
Yeah, I'm going.
Dogs against dogs.
The real dogs.
Dogs.
One thing we really didn't talk about is Auburn, and
Auburn.
That's just going to be an interesting situation. I mean, it seemed in the offseason that it was a program that was ready to just implode completely and maybe even fire their head coach.
An attempted coup.
An attempted coup that Brian Harsin said did not work. And so is that real or is that not real? I mean, going into this season, it'll be interesting to see how that team comes together and how he brings the team together. And are they, they can't go through another 6-win season. They do that, I imagine they're going to be looking for a new head coach.
Yeah. I'm surprised they're not looking for a new head coach now.
Yeah.
To be honest.
No kidding. Their over-under is only 6.5.
Oh.
6.5 for Auburn. Ugh.
That might be the under.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that takes us through the West. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, go through the SEC East. You're watching The Odds Couple presented by Caesars Sportsbook.
Grizz fans, the official Grizzlies mobile app is your key to the game. It's an all-in-one experience updated with even more functionality. You can keep track of a team with news, social media, the schedule, stats, and the standings. And you can log into Grind City Media to watch and listen live to streaming content like The Chris Vernon Show and Rise and Grind. You can check out Grind City Media articles, videos, podcasts, and GCM talent. See what's going on right here at FedEx Forum with our concert and event calendar. Plus, you can find detailed information on seating and concessions with arena maps. You can take the app into FedEx Forum as your mobile wallet, use it as your ticket to the game for Grizz Den mobile pickup, and as contact-free payment for arena concessions. The official Grizzlies mobile app, your key to the game.
This is the moment you've been waiting for. Due to phenomenal demand, the Backstreet Boys are back. The record-breaking DNA World Tour continues. Brian, Kevin, Howie, Nick, and AJ. Backstreet Boys. Quit playing games with FedEx Forum Friday, September 9th. Get tickets now at livenation.com. For more, check backstreetboys.com.
Let's talk about all defensive teams.
Yeah.
Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yep.
Because he
block
blocks
shots.
everything,
The
total
block panther.
blocks and blocks per game. I also have Matisse Thybulle.
From the Philadelphia 76ers, who leads the NBA by a wide margin. Actually, I found this stat today in blocked 3-point shots.
Join Lang Whitaker and me, Kelsey Ray Johnson, every Thursday as we debate the hottest topics in the NBA. IMHO on grindcitymedia.com, YouTube, and our social channels.
The Santi Aldama
We have
moment.
to talk about him.
The reverse dunk, one of the plays of the year,
Oh,
without
I agree.
question. He pump fakes, then drives past, and then
a reverse?
You never see under the basket reverse. No one does that. Like, not Santi Aldama doesn't do it. Who does it?
The Chris Vernon Show, live weekdays at noon on grindcitymedia.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to grindcitymedia.com and the Grind City Media YouTube page. Live from FedEx Forum, here's more of the Odds Couple, Rob Fisher and Lang Whitaker, presented by Caesars Sportsbook.
Don't miss Rise and Grind with Jessica Benson and Megan Triplett. The duo brings a fresh, fun, and energetic double shot of morning vibes to catch you up on the latest in sports, entertainment, pop culture, and everything Memphis, with some completely biased, unfiltered discussions and a side of slightly above average jokes. The jokes are the best on Fridays. That's the day I'm on there. Tune in to grindcitymedia.com, Grind City Media on YouTube, or via the official Grizzlies mobile app to catch Jessica and Megan live, or download each episode daily and subscribe at iTunes, Spotify, or SoundCloud today. We're back on the Odds Couple. I'm Lang Whitaker. He's John Roser. Rob Fisher's with us from Atlanta, from the College Football Hall of Fame.
Where the players play.
That's right.
And ride
Where
on
the players
things
play.
like every day.
You're on the what, Rob?
I got a fish nugget for you.
Okay.
Oh.
We love nuggets.
All right. SEC Media Days, opening statements from the head coaches. Opening statements from the head coach. Mike Leach used 7 words. 7. It was basically, hi, everybody. Great to be here. Any questions?
All right.
That was the best opening
That
statement.
that
Just
would
7
be
words.
that would
Lane-
be Fish. That would be 8 words right there.
Well, whatever. It was 7. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was 7. Lane Kiffin was second least at 219 words. Brian Kelly, 343. Jimbo Fisher, 493. Brian Larson went 886 today. And then you have Billy Napier, 1,131. Josh Heupel, 1147. Eli Drinkaway, 1196. Mark Stoops, 1296. Nick Saban, 1339. Sam Pittman, 1379. Kirby Smart, 1438. And then Shane Beamer, 2,185 words. But the winner for most words in their opening statement this week, the very passionate Vanderbilt coach Clark Lee, who went 2,340.
Holy crap.
Wow.
I like the Mike Leach thing. Hi.
Yeah.
What's up? Anybody
Hi.
got questions?
What do you want?
I went
Yeah.
to a pre-game press conference once where during the playoffs, NBA playoffs, where it just, it's the same thing every single day.
Yeah.
And Eric Spoelstra walked in, sat down, looked around the room. No one said anything. He kind of went like, no one said anything. He just got up. He got up and walked out.
Yeah.
That was it. There are no words spoken.
Yeah. Like, all right.
I would prefer that and I prefer Mike Leach just being direct. Hey, what's up? Let's talk. To
Let's talk.
Clark Lee, but to give Clark Lee a break, is anyone going to listen to him again until next year this time?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
other than when they get crushed by Alabama.
Yeah. 75-3. Like, this is my already going on record with that.
Yeah.
Alabama beats Vanderbilt 75-3.
The man said it's just a matter of time that Vanderbilt is the best football program in the country.
You got to think positive, though.
I mean,
that's
not positive.
Why would you say something like that?
That's crazy talk.
It is crazy
That's
talk.
not positive.
That is, yeah, that reminds me of, it almost reminds me a little bit of when Coach O came into Ole Miss and was talking like, we're going to compete, like, was like saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's like, yeah, okay, man, hold on a second. We got to win some games first.
Let's look at the Vanderbilt.
Before we start talking about being the best team in the country, let's win some games first.
One thing about Vanderbilt, we did not plan to really talk about Vanderbilt in this segment where we break down the SEC East.
That's
However,
not true. We have a Clark Lee quote.
Oh, we do have a Clark Lee quote? That's hard to say. Well, it's actually applicable to this situation. You want to hear about Clark Lee talking about losing 21 straight SEC games?
Yeah.
Let's hear it. Come on, Coach.
We don't talk about that. We don't spend time on it. We don't tally up the collective records of our opponents. That's just not who we are. We're not fighting to win an SEC game. We're fighting to become a dominant force within the conference. And obviously, winning in the SEC requires winning that first game. But when that happens, it's not going to be a huge celebration. I mean, we're going to celebrate everything at a high level, but we're going to shift focus quickly to the next opponent because that's what winning programs do. And so I don't take ownership of anything that had happened before. I certainly take ownership of last season. We fell way short of our expectations, but we are simply trying to build the best version of Vanderbilt football in year 2, independent of our opponents. And we think if we can reach that level of championship performance within this team that replicated over time, we're going to have a lot of success. And that's our focus, and that'll continue to be our focus.
Good luck. I was just looking at their schedule while he was talking there. They open at Hawaii. Nice way to start the year off. Then they play Elon.
Yeah, well, get your bowl game out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They play Elon.
They
host Elon.
Where is Elon? Is that in North Carolina?
I think it's somewhere in North Carolina. Then they host Wake Forest. It's probably a loss.
Oh, yeah. Wake Forest will beat them.
At Northern Illinois. Vanderbilt has a road game at Northern Illinois.
You never will say Elon is in Elon, North Carolina. Yeah.
That's what I thought. But then Vanderbilt plays at Alabama versus Ole Miss, at Georgia, at Missouri versus South Carolina, at Kentucky versus Florida versus Tennessee.
Who's the first coach to get fired? Drinkwitz at Missouri?
I think so.
Like, he's pretty much just a lame. I mean, Harsin at Auburn too.
Yeah,
but
Harsin, I think Harsin or Drinkwitz.
Yeah, Drinkwitz seems like he's done in for there's.
But what should the expectations be at Missouri, right?
I don't know. I would think if Missouri was able to somehow finish third this year in the East,
that's enough.
I mean, because that means you would finish ahead of Florida or Tennessee.
Yeah, that's true.
Which would be,
And the thing that Eli Drinkwitz kept bringing up during his speech at the podium was the fact that they've had the 2 best recruiting classes in school history the last 2 years. So he's already trying to buy himself a little time. By continuing to say, we're getting great recruiting classes, but now he's going to have to have it show, and it's going to have to show on the field. But I think he's trying to buy his time by saying it might not happen this year, but you just wait. Missouri's on the rise. So, but yeah, Mizzou, 500 team probably at best. I don't think he'd be fired after that because of the recruiting classes. But if they fall under that, well, then maybe we have a problem. Harsin's the easy answer.
The thing is, they did have a good recruiting class. The problem is it was 6th best in the entire SEC, and it was. Now it was 3rd in the SEC. 3rd in the SEC East. They did have the 15th ranked recruiting class in the country, which is pretty impressive a year ago. Now let's see the year before that. They would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11th in the SEC the year before that.
And that was their best recruiting class ever.
No, I don't know. I think this past year is when they got 20.
They had that one year. Who was the wide receiver? They had the number 1 prospect in
Dorial
the country.
Beckham Green.
Yeah, Beckham Green. It just never worked out.
He never worked out.
That was a few years back. I mean, look, if we're going to talk about recruiting and we're going to talk about the SEC East, we should talk about the Georgia Bulldogs. And today, Kirby Smart signed a huge contract extension, 10 years, 100-something million. Puts him in that top 2 or 3 of coaches. I was trying to find the numbers of how much coaches get paid. I think Saban's still ahead of him. Lincoln Riley is up there too. But it put Kirby up in at least that top 5.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, Georgia's schedule looks pretty easy. Here's Kirby talking about how the team will not be complacent heading into this season.
That does not concern me in the least, because to be complacent, you have to have done something and achieved something. The men on this team for this season have not done that. They have not. We had 15 players that are now gone to NFL camps or draft picks. They're gone. And we have some returning players, but they're hungry as ever. People have asked the question, how does it feel to be hunted? We will not be hunted at the University of Georgia. I can promise you that.
That's right.
The hunting that we do will be done from us going the other direction. It's not something we're going to sit back and be passive about. Our guys have asked questions, and we've done a lot of studies on how the mighty have fallen. So we have skull sessions. We have 15-minute meetings, 20-minute meetings in breakout groups, and we've actually taught how the mighty have fallen. I'm talking about in business. I'm talking about in sports. I'm talking about in history. So you learn from the mistakes of others. And for us, it really steers down to one cultural belief that we have a connection that's greater than our opponent.
The hunting we do,
Dogs.
The hunting we do is going to come from us going the other way.
Yeah.
That's
right.
hunting. That's what hunting is.
Yeah.
That's what hunting is.
Dogs are
I
gonna
like
do it.
their schedule.
They have a great
I like
schedule.
their schedule a lot.
That was the knock last year,
well,
was that Georgia's schedule was so easy, and then this year it's almost just
That's
as
because they
easy.
play in the SEC East. So it's they play in the East.
I mean, they open against Oregon. That's one
a
of your
good one.
non-conferences. That's a good
Dan
one.
Lanning, that's your former DC. Yeah, he also he coached on Mike Norvell's staff at Memphis too.
But then they play, I mean, at South Carolina, at Missouri, home against Auburn, Vanderbilt, Florida, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Georgia Tech.
What's their over/under wins? What's Georgia's?
It's got to be
10.5. Yeah, over.
Yeah, I would take the over.
They're not losing.
They might lose one in there. I mean, but
who do you think's the biggest?
My guess would be Florida or Tennessee. One of those. Like if one of those two teams, Tennessee, really to me seems to be the one that could, be special, especially offensively.
Yeah, that game being in Athens though, makes me think that's going to be very difficult task.
Maybe Florida.
I guess it was Chris Doring on SEC Now today said that his bold prediction this season was that Kentucky was going to get them. That game in Lexington on November 19th against Georgia. If Kentucky's good, if they are a 9-10 win team like they were a year ago, which I don't think they're going to be, but they do have a heck of a quarterback. Maybe they're playing their best by that time. Maybe that's where Georgia could slip up. But I don't know. I think it'd be bold just to pick a Georgia loss anywhere on this game.
I think if they do lose one, it's going to be one of those kind of fluky things where another team, maybe there's an injury or something, and the team keeps it close and they're able to get it going. I mean, look, they lost a lot of guys, especially defensively from that defense, but there's so many blue chip guys on this team. Like they're almost at the point of like an Alabama now, where it's just plug and play, and you add these other guys in there. I think Tennessee is going to be frisky. To me, they're the team that's going to be kind of fun.
Yeah,
in the SECs.
Yeah.
We saw flashes of it last year. You saw it against Georgia last year when they played Georgia. Like there are times where they were moving the ball, they were hiking it really quickly, running to the line, getting up and down the field. I don't know if defensively they're going to be good enough, but maybe offensively they may be kind of fun.
Well, we know they're going to be explosive offensively. I mean that's just Josh Heupel and Roser. We went over that schedule. Yeah. I mean there are 9 wins out there for Tennessee, with just a couple of games that could go either way. But most of them seem to be in Tennessee's favor, right? Yeah. That's why I like Tennessee to finish second in the SEC East, because I think when you look at their schedule, it's it's favorable for UT this year.
Yeah, the biggest thing, honestly, with Tennessee's schedule, and this would go for anybody that plays either one of these teams, and Tennessee actually has them, well, not in back-to-back weeks because they actually get a bye week in between them, but Tennessee does have back-to-back games against Florida, September 24th, and then they get a bye week, and then October 8th, they're at LSU. I think if you have both of those teams on your schedule, when you're looking at your schedule, those are both games where it's like, and then they have three of them. No, but then they have three of them because we also mentioned We mentioned the South Carolina game, which Spencer Rattler's their quarterback now, who was such this highly touted prospect, and I'm looking at it like, man, this dude couldn't do crap. He wasn't that great against Big 12 defenses and Lincoln Riley's offense. How is he exactly going to be good against SEC defenses? But it's an unknown. Like, you don't know what you're getting, and Shane Beamer, of course, took 5 million words to explain how South Carolina football is getting better. But I'm saying those are three games on Tennessee's schedule that you look at, and it's like, okay, what is Florida? What is LSU? New coaches, and then South Carolina, with Spencer Rattler there. What do you expect?
What about Florida? Like, what do we think about them? I mean,
the quarterback's got a ton of. The Richardson kid's got a ton
Richardson's
of talent.
Back.
He got a ton
of talent. The guy.
But he's the dude who came in there in the Georgia game last year and just completely fell apart, collapsed. The end of the first half was a total. It's like Florida was right there, and then
it was close,
and then it's the end of the first half. He just fell apart, and he was rattled completely. Like, what is the kid going to be like? And
Yeah, that's a big thing. And then, in Napier, in his first season, he had to fill a lot of holes because, Dan Mullen just didn't do a good job recruiting. So, he had to come in and fill some holes too. So, Florida's an interesting one. To me, Florida's a lot like LSU this year, where I think your ceiling and your floor, it's a big gap of where you could land. I think probably the two biggest unknown programs this year in the SEC.
Here's the thing. Who do you trust more this year? Do you trust Florida because they're in the SEC East? Or let's be real here, do you trust LSU more because Brian Kelly has shown he knows how to be the head football coach at a top program?
Yes.
Program.
Yes, he has.
It's a program. It's a program. Top program.
Yeah. I think I'd feel more secure about LSU, and it's because of Kelly.
Yeah.
He's shown he knows how to be the coach at a big-time school. He does. He's shown he knows how to do that.
Knowing the talent that they have.
Yeah.
I mean, they're loaded with just players. So, I would probably feel more comfortable with LSU than I would with Florida.
I think so, too. In Florida, they had a lot of really young guys on defense last year. I mean, a lot of those guys are back, but they weren't very good last year. And maybe they're better this year. I don't know. But I think they have to reload more than LSU did. LSU had a lot of talented guys. They seemed like there was no direction the last season or almost last two seasons, really.
Yeah.
So I would imagine now, like, maybe, Brian Kelly can kind of focus them, and Florida, I think, still needs to reload and fill that cupboard because, like you said, Dan Mullen left it pretty bare.
I don't think there's any need to pick the division winners because I think we'd be silly if we didn't pick the two teams that everybody's expecting in Georgia and Alabama. But I guess the question would be who finishes second.
Here's one stat I found today per ESPN. Of the last 10 national champions that were not coached by Nick Saban, half have finished in the AP top 5 the following year. 3 finished unranked, and they were all SEC teams. And the team's cumulative winning percentage went from .958, averaging 13.7 wins a year, to .788, averaging 10.4 wins per year. So, I mean, there is a history of some sort of regression from these SEC teams that weren't Nick Saban teams that won the title. And do we expect that at all from Georgia or no?
I don't. I think Georgia's
the schedule's just too easy.
I think Kirby Smart is the most like Saban with his program. I think he's
the one thing with Georgia is like they didn't really go hard in the transfer portal, like all these other teams did. Like they picked up a couple guys here and there, but it's for the most part it's kind of like the same guys. And then
we're gonna have our culture.
Yeah.
We've got our guys that we've had in this team, and in our program.
95 of them are getting paid.
Sure.
Yeah. They are.
I mean, we didn't even talk about NIL stuff. We could probably do a whole other show
God,
on that.
who cares? No, I love that we didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
I love that we didn't talk about it.
It's just, to me, it's always been part of college football. Now it's just legal.
Yeah, it's just legal.
Right.
Yeah.
It's perfect. I think it's great.
I do too. We all like it.
Get paid.
All right. Well, Rob, you going to come home now?
Yeah, I am. I'm about to get the car and head back to Memphis and then leave tomorrow for vacation. So,
hey, how long is that drive now? Since they've got the 78s
It's
open?
under 6 hours.
Yeah, it's under 6
It's
now?
like 5.5. Depends.
Okay.
The highway from Birmingham to Memphis is like the Autobahn. It's amazing. Yeah.
Oh,
that's
no,
78.
it's freaking
through the
awesome.
mountains, and there's like it's a 70-mile-an-hour speed limit. Like that's a fun
It's
highway.
amazing.
Yeah, I was stunned that it was a little less than 6, but
you
so
can
I'm
get-
looking forward
and you-
to it. And then you get the extra hour coming home.
Well, and you can get jocks the whole way, so like you can listen to Feinbaum and just hear those crazy ass callers he has. It's amazing.
There's a truck stop about halfway. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's a good highway.
Yeah, I'll stop at Love's, might stop at
That's
Buc-ee's
right.
again on the way back. Yeah.
There's that Buc-ee's in Leeds, right outside of Birmingham. Yeah.
Wait, there's a Buc-ee's in Alabama?
Yeah, right
I
outside
thought those were
Birmingham.
only in Texas.
No, man. There's two in it. There's at least one in Alabama. There's some in Georgia too.
Oh, they're expanding
Yeah,
Buc-ee's.
it's a national footprint now.
No, I saw a thing on Buc-ee's on 60 Minutes. It's absolutely amazing. I was like, this place looks unbelievable.
It is. It's amazing.
It's like the new Walmart.
It is. It's like a
better
Walmart.
Walmart.
I've been several times, and it's remarkable.
That's
I mean, they have a
amazing.
beef jerky bar. Selections.
Are we going to be co-presented by Buc-ee's
I'll
here
bring
on
in,
the
I have
Odds
some
Couple?
Buc-ee's merch. I should bring
Yeah,
in some.
shout out Buc-ee's.
Yeah, shout out
I bought
Buc-ee's.
some. All right, well, Rob,
Hey, Vernon got dots. You know, why Dippin' Dots? Why couldn't we get us a little Buc-ee's on the show?
get us some
Shout
brisket.
out Buc-ee's.
Rob, pick up some brisket and some beef jerky on your way back.
I will. I'm gonna. I had the turkey barbecue turkey
I've had that
sandwich.
sandwich.
On the
It's
way
great.
here. It was
Yeah. Get some Buc-ee's nuggets for us too.
Yeah.
Beaver nuggets. I know what they're called.
I will.
All right. Well, look, that was this week's Odds Couple presented by Caesar Sportsbook, and I don't know when we're going to be back. Soon. We got stuff to talk about. I mean, SEC is around the corner. College football's around the corner. So NFL's around the corner.
Yeah.
Baseball is getting toward the playoffs. There's a lot of stuff happening, and we're going to be back to talk about all of it. He's Rob Fisher. He's John Roser. I'm Lang Whitaker. This is the Odds Couple presented by Caesar Sportsbook.
You've been listening to The Odds Couple, presented by Caesar Sportsbook on GrindCityMedia.com and the Grind City Media YouTube page. Tune in next time with Rob Fisher and Lang Whitaker.